Shanti. My name's Wadi and I'm speaking to you from Florida in the US of A. And I'd known Dee Dee from 1976. Was impressed by her as soon as I saw her, and it was on a public stage in Mumbai. And of course I knew her all the way through until she left the body, and she was someone who had made a big impact in my life. I have various stories, often to do with the power of her drishti, and where I saw somebody as a result of her drishti in just moments on a Thursday morning come into full realization of God, of himself, and of the cycle. I was witness to that. And the other incident that I wanted to tell you about was, must have been the late 70s, perhaps 1980, not later than that. And there was a gathering of those of us from abroad. Service abroad was still very new at that time. And so it was not such a big group. And of course, those were the days in which there was only Pandav Bhavan. There was no Gyan Sarovar or Shantivan. And communications, nothing like they are today. They possibly had one telephone in the whole of Pandav Bhavan. And for the rest of us, if we needed to make an international call, then we had to go down to the village to do that. And anyway, a call came from London, and I was living with Daddy in London in those days, but a call came to say, and this must have been the first time, that Daddy was in hospital. And again, because of the lack of communication, there were assumptions made that it was maybe her heart and so on and so forth. And there was worry and concern. I mean, had we known that Daddy had at least another 40 years to live, maybe we wouldn't have been so concerned. But Dee Dee called us to her room. There was about as many as could fit in her room. And after she remembered Baba and gave us all drishti, then she asked the question, because she was very curious about, she was the teacher, the consummate teacher. So she asked, who of you were shocked when you got this news about Daddy Janki? And I don't remember who else was in the room, but the only two that I remember putting their hands up to say they were shocked was Brother Charlie from Australia and myself. And I think everybody else was thinking, we're not supposed to be shocked by anything. And maybe there was a reluctance to admit that they too were surprised or shocked by it. And then Dee Dee says, actually, I too was shocked. And none of us expected to hear that. And then Dee Dee went on to tell us how, and I already knew that she and Daddy Janki had a very close friendship. And Dee Dee went on to say how, and each of the two of them had, a reputation. Daddy Janki was seen to be very introverted and a little bit stern, perhaps, and very serious in her nature, whereas Dee Dee was really the gopi, which I think was her name before, and very loving and very free and easy with Baba, totally different relationship. And she said, Daddy Janki taught me how to be the student. And I taught Daddy Janki how to love. And I thought that was wonderful, because now in their, advanced years, both of them had both qualities. That Didi was very much a Jnani Atma, and of course Daddy Janki was learning to come more from her heart, which was, as big as the Himalayas, really. And that both of them became the heads of the organization in their time. And why it struck me was because this really is what friendship should be about. Generally, when you have two friends or a couple, then each one will have different qualities, and the other one becomes dependent on that quality in the other person. But the test of true friendship, there as exemplified by Didi and Daddy, was that each one taught the other how to also develop the quality which they might have had quite naturally. And so in this way, the real friendship. And I remember asking Daddy Janki at one point, knowing her and Didi Ji's relationship, what would Didi say if she were here today? What would she say to you? And Daddy, without thinking too much, quite seriously, said, she would say, you are fulfilling the hopes that the Father had in you. So just a little taste of my enduring relationship and inspiration from Didi. I'm so privileged to have known her and be known by her. And again, the two things, her seriousness and her gentleness. Her gentleness. Thank you. Om Shanti.